Guys, since my state, Bihar, election that sealed the fate of almost every legitimate hopes of having an inclusive, free and fair elections, and a kind of claims, counterclaims, and deletion from the voter list of lakhs of people in the name of infiltrators or ineligible voters. That too accounted for a majority of the youths or those people who couldn't validate their. It's not like validating their nationality, but they're validating their privilege to franchisement. So lakhs of people simply because deletions the voters list and or probably the new registration, despite all the clamor, all the claims and the claims were based not on flimsy grounds, but substantiated claims of large-scale frauds with too many multiple voters, and there was systematic error, and a pattern could be noticed that technology is playing a part in either providing sanctions to those who have got some nefarious designs to delegitimize some of the legitimate voters. And since I was keeping an eye on, and I expected win-win situations for even the opposition parties, because opposition, they had validity in the claims of not allowing the entire populace to participate in the electioneering process. And since the election body, they kept sticking to their guns, and in fact there have been flagrant violations of the code of conducts, and that's usual in many of the state elections, and no doubt. So it raises an eyebrow on the part of the common people who have no way of proving their credentials or authentifying themselves, because a number of documents are sought that include 11, and that didn't include this Aadhaar card, which is supposed to be an identity card, not a proof of your inclusion or nationality or whatever. So special, set agencies, and they have been at work in every state government, and Bengal is the latest. And they were celebrating. I saw one video in which was celebrations in that in Rajasthan. They purportedly or the clamor for the victory of that this entire processing has been taken over. Anyway, it was a bit disconcerting. I don't have to blame the entire election process, because this is very tedious and it requires multiple agencies, close coordinations, and then the national government and has to intervene. Obviously, the codes and conducts, and we have been conducting elections, and we have witnessed elections almost for more than 50 years now, and I witnessed to some of the elections, those in the olden days when there used to be ballot papers and no voting machines. So the chances of defrauding the voters of their legitimate rights through machines, or whether it's an intensive campaign, or whether it's doling out 10,000 rupees in the accounts of every individual voter, just to tempt them to, or tilt in favor of, no doubt, the biggest conglomerate and the humongous BJP party. That's at the apex, center of everything. And our Prime Minister is relentlessly trying to persuade our voters that things are going to be rosier ahead. Biharis, all of them, they're struggling to make ends meet, and large-scale migrations. They don't find any job opportunities, unemployed youths, and there is lawlessness, there is misgovernance. But that's the fate of that state. The state has always been deplorable there, whether it was the previous regime, the 20 years of Lalu Raj, or whether it's Nitish Kumar. Things could have improved a bit in the sense of that digitization drive is on. People have the chance to have their say in the because the opposition party had the Vice Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav. But the way election campaign is undertaken by this juggernaut BJP, that's commendable. A spate of conferences, assemblies, road shows, the display of the might, and the display of the zealousness, the bigotry, and then this even the despotic way of, and above all, trying to buy the votes in the name of some of the revelry and incentives, especially towards the last couple of days of the election campaign, and that's itself violates the code of conduct. But so brazenly and so shamelessly, it's peddled, and voters are always taken for a ride. For a while, for some time, only to be forgotten for the rest of the 5 years. And in the name of this double-engine sarkar of the governments by two, like federal and state governments together, they haven't culminated in any sense of real achievement. GDP, the per capita income of every Bihari individual is abysmally low, even compared to the other states in our own country. So Rahul Gandhi's, despite being quite vocal and quite confrontationist, and also spare no stone unturned in bringing about the facts that justice and fair means are rampant, and there hasn't been fair elections. But as if the seal of Bihar, like a democratic fate, was already sealed in the ballot boxes. And seems like, people who are expecting against the hopes that there could be a change of regime or there could be incumbency. But that wasn't meant to be. It was destined to have the same resultant impact and consequences that was, in fact, etched out in the history of this state. So what one really can't fathom, that how come just with such a number of rallies and the prime ministerial addresses, and every time they turn out to be winners, and with thumping majority, as if all the efforts of the other parties are in vain or invalidated, or they're not taken into account or cognizance. And how come, even the winning candidates, they appear to be losing towards the end of the election result? But that's not about doubting the process. It's all about the way the populace or the masses, they cast vote on the line of religion or caste politics, the line of some of the incentives, rewards and punishments method that have been adopted. And the strategy that is adopted is like they're taken for granted all the time. They're hoodwinked, they are fooled in the name of, and there's no infrastructural growth. The economy is still in the slumber. There are no heavy industrialization. Migration hasn't stopped, and Biharis have to bear the brunt of the worst kind of governments, worst kind of funding, and as if they're living in 18th century or 19th century world, compared to even the other states like Andhra or Tamil Nadu, or Kerala, of course, is a different scenario where it's a very unique state with its own perspective and its own kind of governance. But what really distressful and disconcerting is that if changes have to be brought about the grassroots level, and if these right-minded opposition party members, what we call the union of the too many parties wrapping their heads around the issues of how to win over this heavy giant and win over the machinery. So they have to fight back not just the election process without much of the funding and much of the financial muscles. They have to fight the agencies, machineries, the officials, the whole, and the media, of course, and that's always in favor of the majoritarianism. So it's the democracy majoritarianism. Democracy, the fabric is being tattered, and it's inching towards becoming a kind of farcical mockery of, because democracy is like changing hands, changing thoughts, changing the decision makers, and also having the good governments by dint of the consultations and by the right moves, right policy making, principled states, and also virtuous or constitutional within the constitutional framework. So India's economic gain is abysmally low. $90 hits 90, unprecedented, never heard of it. Also, GDP's growth rate, the per capita income is going down. Yesterday, Sitaraman, the French minister, she told about the huge deficit that every Indian owes as a loan. And even diplomatically and internationally, India's image has gone down in the sense that it has earned a nickname of being a struggling nation once again, a developing nation, which has to be at the beck and call of the giants, and no say in the UN. It's diplomatic rows and tussles and tariff war with USA and other countries, and blanket refusal of the US to give any special concessions. India used to enjoy the status of most favored nation. Now it's tilted toward Russia. Putin was here just to strike deals, just about gas, and so something is not right, and our economy is crippling. It's in a very deplorable and sorry state, and it's not gaining grounds. It's not bouncing back. The GDP growth is stalled, and unemployment is all-time high, and things are supposed to be much more better organized. Even the election process started with the election commission has to come up with white paper. It has to be accountable. It has to cater to the legitimate right of every voter franchise, and it has to make sure that no Indian is debarred or left out or is not allowed to cast his vote, which is his fundamental right. And India must make efforts to improve its international relations, diplomacy, in consideration of opposition parties. The other day Putin was there, but opposition LOP, Rahul Gandhi, and they were not even invited. They couldn't be seen there. So this is really bizarre, and it's not in favor of any healthy democracy, where only the ruling party decides and rules the roost as a despotic ruler. So Indian democracy has to strengthen itself, it has to rebound, it has to regain its status of the largest, one of the largest, and with fair and full justifiable electioning process. Also, every state has to be taken care of. Whichever government is there should be a healthy center-state relationship with states' rights to make laws, abide laws, go for those areas, which is clearly demarcated and delineated and categorized as per the constitution norms. So, actually, good wishes to the BJP's win again, and Nitish Kumar becoming as if he is a virtually ageless person to remain the CM of Bihar for the rest of his life. That doesn't happen. It only happens in Russia, like Putin, and so they should come up with, not empty-handed and lip service, and they must deliver the promises that they made during elections, post-elections, before elections, and since they are responsible for 2 decades now, there hasn't been any excuse for not performing well. So I wish the very best for the new governments and new takeover. Whatever the result was, that's acceptable to every individual, regardless of some of the lacuna or kind of anomalies that were brought about by opposition, and things to be righted in the right directions. Thank you so much